bright coursing rays of light bathing the shell. Netter, nature, the opposite of hell.
Hey Brandon, hey Derek, how's it going?
What's up?
Not too shabby. How you doing?
Put my earphones in. I'm so unprepared today.
Got such a bad habit of not doing that. Not trying to be cool about it or anything, but yeah. But yeah, really cool and great presentation, Kris. Appreciate that. Yeah. Always love the elements of Maat. Ooh, look who we got. How's it going, Theo?
Yeah, he's not in yet. I gotta bring him in.
Oh yeah, true. I forgot.
It's all manual. Remember, I'm doing it the hard way. You guys do it easy
Yeah.
with your StreamYard and your Restream. I'm a hard head. I go the hard way. Hey Theo, thanks for popping in.
Hey, what's up, guys?
It's cracking.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
All good. Let's do this.
So yeah, I saw your comments on Kris's video. Yeah, it is cool to see someone break these concepts down in a type of articulation that we haven't really seen before or really not used to, I suppose, right? You want to share that real quick, Theo?
Well, yeah, just kind of the way he presents, like kind of like his infographics with everything laid out really clearly, almost like what you would see like a math class or something like that. Like it's all yeah, presented in almost like a mathematical fashion. It's like those spiritual mathematics, right? Yeah, it's really clear, and that's why in the previous one I suggested that like his presentations would be used in all the educational institutions in the world. Like I feel like they can really easily be turned into classes, into curriculums, and all that.
I thought I said that. No.
Yeah. Well, you definitely agreed with that, so that's good. Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
The biggest thing that I took away from this part 4, great presentation as always, Kris, was karma is causality. Like to simply put it. Yeah, and I've got some few points that I had jotted down. And the main one was the whole personal, like the whole personal karma that we hear about in a lot of Eastern traditions and a lot of big time occultists talked about this. And yeah, that was the one thing that how past Theo's work had brought to the whole scene was talking more of a collective karma, and that's something that doesn't really get talked about. Of course, like when we are talking about how natural law and objective morality and cause and effect, people will try to, of course, go from their obfuscated definitions and false understandings, and it just creates more how confusion. How when we try to bring up these more occulted correct how definitions and different meanings. And that's one thing that I've seen is a lot of people just talk about the more like individualized karma. Why am I getting this, or like what did I do to deserve this? And the whole free will aspect is left out. And then two, the whole micro and the macro is yes, there is an individual aspect that Kris pointed out, but there also is a collective that we are all reaping, because all of our actions are going out into reality, and we are going to get those back. Yeah, and it's just all about how causality. Karma is causality. And like you explained, you have the individuals who are involved directly, who is actually receiving that negative form of action. And then if it's not dealt with in the now, one of the main things of taking true responsibility, then if it's not dealt with, the longer that goes on, that's going to build up in the collective, you know, leading to the law of freedom, which is going to create more and more of that healthy moral behavior. That was the first thing that I wrote down as far as the personal. I think you called it the personal direct automatic payment.
Oh yeah, the questionable conceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Yeah, that I've run into. When trying to talk about these concepts with people, is they just have it just so individualized that they don't even see like the whole macro, aspect. They have this disconnect. It's almost kind of like egoic because it's just all, me, and my karma, like what can I do to, get, out of my karma, or, like what did I do to deserve this, and not looking at like the whole grand scheme of the whole bigger, is the actions, and those actions create more actions, and it's just this whole feedback loop of causality and actions, and we are all reaping, sadly, like you said, from doing, nothing about evil.
Yeah, for sure. That's the sad joke of humanity, where we are right now, is the comedian.
The average individual thinks they are living in a bubble, and we are here to burst their bubble and say, hey, we're actually living in a one big bubble as all humanity. And if more people would think about it like this, that way, I think that's what we're trying to make them kind of realize, is that yeah, you're not in a bubble of your own body or your own desires and needs and whatever the fuck programmed beliefs and all this shit. It's like there's a big picture here, and yeah, it's very very important that people will understand that.
Yeah, and people also need to understand that fake karma, and like the original sin and all the religious crap that people like. Oh my god, I'm gonna go to hell if I do this. Like, oh, all that aside, yeah, but bursting someone's bubble, like, oh, you made someone cry because you told them the truth, or you hurt their feelings. Oh, the fifis are kind of ruffled up or whatever, right? But was that person who spoke the words to the person who cried, was that person in alignment? Was he speaking the truth? Was it a moral thing for them to uh out of care, especially, right? So yeah, there's perspectives that need to be taken into consideration with these things. And yeah, I definitely appreciate yours, Kris, what you brought to the table and all that, and having us at your table. So yeah, much respects and appreciation.
Yeah, you're welcome. Glad to have discussions happening afterwards, and yeah, brings more perspectives and potentially different insights relating to the presentation, and have I guess more dynamic. I don't know, more dynamic explosion of information for people who view it, than because other people can view things, and then you make a different connection, and you like bring something from something over here that I didn't think of, and then it adds fuel to the fire, I guess, or makes the snowball bigger. I don't know. I'm at a loss for the proper metaphor.
Well, one thing you wasn't speaking in metaphor, Cal, about when you was talking about, what was it, taking a beating. Sometimes people may have to, get their ass beat in order for them, hell, to learn what not to do. And that's one of the self-defense, dynamics that I feel like a lot of people just, forget about, is a lot of people are too nice and, want to just, sadly think that, psychopaths are going to understand this. We may have to like get physical as a means of, truly getting back to, freedom, or, if people aren't learning, and, they aren't held, held, he'll agreeing to whatever terms of, repercussion, then yeah, a good ass whooping, a good beating by, the townspeople is always a way for people to learn. Sadly, that's that form of, like Ishfet, teaching, someone what not to do by the way of, chaos. And that's, one of those meanings of chaos can be a teacher. But yeah, that gets into like the whole self-defense. And one of the main things, what I was getting from this part 4 is like true responsibility. That's something that we talk about, but when it comes to actually stopping evil, yeah, like we try to put out more education. Um, it's like Mark said, once it's like we do it that way to keep it from going into, that real self-defense where things get physical, which is always a reality, unfortunately. And people should be willing, to go that route if it comes up, because, hell, again, it's still about, stopping evil. That's something we can't take off the table. That's something we shouldn't be in fearful, so I'm glad that you brought that dynamic up, because I still feel like a lot of people are still kind of soft in this whole area and like this whole dynamic, and they kind of run away from that. But that is always a reality when you are talking about freedom.
Yeah, for sure. Responsibility, self-defense, that's where, that's what's got to be developed. The sacred masculine principle of self-defense, or just principle of defense. You can look at it like that, because you can defend others, and it doesn't have to be the self. It can be about helping others, but we all need to be ready to be our brother's keepers. And because if you're not willing, in that, we're not there, and mindsets need to change. But like, say everything was fine, and a gang comes in and wants to say, hey, I'm taking this from you. And well, if they're 100 and you're 1, well, they're going to take it, and you can't do shit about it. But that's why there needs moral unity. So it's not just about your own ability to defend yourself. It's about being in moral unison with everyone, acting under that principle, so that we actually are able to fend off groups of immoral people and enact justice. Because say that happens, they take something, you're not going to do something at that moment, but then you can collect on that karmic debt and get that restitution, and resolve that injustice and bring back justice, but only with the help of others, because you're not going to do it yourself against 100. That's why it takes the majority being morally united. And it's always about, like, all of this is dealing with the majority. That's what the collective and aggregate is. And, talking about, you mentioned taking a beating, and I was thinking of like the mob coming with their pitchforks and whatever, and whether the mob is doing something because they got a scapegoat, they've there's been a scapegoat created and they're targeting the wrong person or whatever. It's always just a quantity of people who are trying to make something happen, and that's what we have now, is a quantity of people who think that it's fine this way, or a quantity of people who are too cowardly. It's all a quantity that's making it the way it is, or a quantity that's going to change it to be something else. So that mob, we got to be a mob, but a moral mob. And, it's about majority rule is how so much works in the natural world when you have quantities of differing things. Well, I think it was in the previous presentation with the blue paint and the red paint, I made that analogy that, it's like, well, it's going to be mostly blue or mostly red, even if there's a bit in it. And so that's that majority, that principle of majority, principle of quantity, that's always in operation, and it's always happening in reality. Because if the majority decided to act in moral unison and engage in the defense principle and say no and not let it continue. And even when the thousands of them tried to pick off individual people, well, if everyone united and, oh, you're picking this person at this address on this street, well, we're all going to go there and we're going to put a stop to you. And no matter where they'd go, well, you couldn't get away. And that would be just to like stop them from doing what they're doing. And then there's even taking it further is to make them pay for things they've already done. But there's at least that way of like stopping it from continuing, even if you're not going to get justice in terms of like restitution for previous harms initiated. You can at least work together to prevent it from happening again if you're coordinated. And we'd have to be like, oh, they're the army, or they're all headed over here, so everyone, okay, get in your cars and we all drive over there. And so there'd be logistics involved in combating those who wanted to remain robotic slaves, obedient to their masters of authority.
True unity. True unity.
Yeah, we don't have that right now.
Yeah, nowhere close. It's just a word, sadly.
People are all about unity, though. Boy, they just love that word, even though they don't know fucking shit about it, what it truly is. United on whatever beliefs or ideologies or left wing, right wing, and well, yeah, they don't know what true unity is because they're not moral, and that's the only way to true unity.
Yeah,
well, so that's so you go, Derek.
Yeah, just one sentence and then go for it. It's like we have to be unified on the plane of causes, not you have people scattered around the plane of effects, and that's kind of why we have this clusterfuck of consciousness in a sense. Strike at the root, right? So yeah, go for it. Causal factors. Go for it, Theo. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And so once we understand those things, right? So obviously we understand those things, and the goal is to help others to understand those things so they can realize that they are in a immoral mob, like you mentioned, Kris, and that before you have that awareness that you are in that mob, you literally may not have awareness, whether it's be ignorance or nescience or whatever. And in order to gain that awareness, you have to break out of that train of thinking, right? Those trains of immorality and incorrect behavior that most of us are caught up into as humanity. So again, like what would make you jump off the train or fall off the train? Like for many of us, it's all kinds of different things that got us off those dirty trains. But we need to figure out as people who are aspiring to be leaders in those right action, this righteous way of life that we are aspiring with the One Great Work Network and all that, is we need to figure out how to get people off those trains and get them in the good train, like right? Something like that, right? So we can start our own like good trains and go in the right direction, literally in the right direction, and instead of all those leftists or whatever the fuck. And and so it takes radical action, I think, from individuals who like us understand it. So to make those YouTube videos and those live streams, this is already quite radical action, but it's still mostly like in the digital, it's like in the ethereal field, which is good, but we need to, I think, also like do radical action in the real world and like spread those energies wherever we go, of like non-compliance, of like high vibration. Like this is more talking energetically, but I think there's something to it. Like I can see my own life changes, like when I maintain certain frequencies and certain energy in the way I conduct myself, the way I speak, the way I behave. Like I feel like I can see changes in the world around me. Like I literally affect other people. Like it's like I kind of help them raise their energy when my energy is really high. You know what I mean? Like, so those are like small steps towards, I feel like, the elevation of humanity, is to just do it your way, do it yourself in whatever way you can, and don't be shy to interact with people, with knowledge, with whoever. Like, become more social, become more, put yourself out there more, and yeah, I think naturally you will meet the right people who will listen to you and understand you, and then there you go. That's a great work for the positive karma, right?
Yeah, so we're thinking. You mentioned energy, right? And yeah, Kris, when going over listening to your presentation, that kind of hit me. I forget at what point you were bringing it up. It was towards the end, but yeah, it's just another way to look at the law of attraction, the cause and effect. And yeah, it is sometimes hard to measure these things. And I definitely applaud you for your efforts in doing so in a really cohesive way. And yeah, it's like there's this energetic integrity that every living being has, right? And so we can kind of, and yeah, it's kind of hard to recognize and realize what kind of effect that we have on that energetic field of people and stuff. So like our interactions and things like that, it's just kind of along the lines of like reading the room and that kind of stuff. And yeah, having the proper the feminine essence aspect of the non-violent or non-aggression principle, right? But yeah, always keeping that self-defense principle in hand for sure, especially if things get out of hand, right? And if you want to know more about these hands, right, watch Brandon's presentation on that. But yeah, take it back to the beginning. I like how you mentioned like thermodynamics. That's energy, right? And it can be measured in all these things. And so yeah, it's like finding the order out of all the chaos out there, and that's kind of part of what we have to do as part of our life journey and taking responsibility for our lives and navigating in this reality matrix, whatever, right? And yeah, trying to establish order in one's life amidst all the chaos out there. And they think and this is under government, right? But they think anarchy is chaos and all that crap, right? Inversions, but yeah, so in it, yeah, I'm surprised you didn't bring up those natural law expressions, and we kind of went over those with the Europa Natural Law Roundtable last Sunday. Actually, we missed you, man, but it's all good. But and
Yeah,
yeah, I love the
I
fact.
was dying, so I'm
Yeah,
kidding. I
you were.
wasn't dying, but
Damn, man.
I was in. I was not doing too good for the past 3 days. Took
Mm,
2 days off work. Yeah.
damn, man. But yeah, I'll pass it to you in a second. That yeah, I love the fact that you brought up Maat quite a bit, not just in this presentation, but in the past, and you did a whole presentation dedicated to her, I suppose, and like Brandon did as well. And going over those, the natural law expressions from the OG Mark Passio, who established that really cool slide. Yeah, at the bottom there's either order or chaos, and I was kind of fiddling around with those ideas, and like I had like Mayat and Ishvet at the bottom, with the order and the chaos, and I learned that from Brandon's presentation actually. So yeah, it's just a really cool kind of coming around full circle, and with these confirmations and correlations, it's yeah, it just makes more sense and increases one's consciousness, I suppose. But yeah,
Yeah, but real quick, so to add to
I'm done.
what
Yeah.
you were saying, before I pass it to Kris, in regards to chaos, I was thinking like all those things are not like one and done. Like chaos is like evil automatically, or order is good automatically. It's not that way at all. Now, like government is order, you could say, but it's creating chaos and it's immoral. So it's like an immoral order. So you always have to view things from the moral lens, right? Like does it violate other people, and does it steal from other people or other beings, all those things. So to break that immoral order, we need moral chaos. So that's why that goes back to what I said about radical action. Like, don't be afraid to not fit the mold, and when you go out and socialize with people, like, have a totally different energy from other people. That's what you want to do, to create that moral chaos, to create a little distortion in their field, because their field is no good. They're not being moral. They're living their, programmed, immoral, basically little mini misogynist life. The average person. So by behaving in a bit of a radical way, you're creating this moral chaos that can create an opening for them to change, to see something different, and then maybe you can even speak to them, right? Initiate conversations. Maybe they initiate conversations with you, and that's how you make this positive change. That's how you create good karma. That's how you really be on that good dharma as well, the good path. That's what I wanted to add there.
Yeah, I don't think what the government does is like an order. I had a point to make, but it like slipped my mind. Because it's a false order, so it's not like I forget the term you used, but I'd more clarify this.
Immoral order.
Yeah, immoral order, but it's not an immoral order because it's a false order based on control. And when you're looking at when you control things, say you have your room and you want to put it in order, well, you're going to control where everything in your room is going to go. And that's how the government operates, is that it's controlling everything. So it's going to order it the way it wants it to be, but it's actually chaos because of the moral side. So I know what you're trying to say in terms of like an immoral order, and everything you said does apply. But yeah, so what you said is valid. I just want to make the distinction that when we're talking about the, like in this presentation related to karma and people's conception of things need to be ordered and balanced and just, well, the balance and the order and just, well, that had to do with the morality side. So when you're talking about it in terms of moral or immoral, well, the chaos falls into the immoral side and the order falls on the moral side, hence the symbolism of Maat and Isfet. But I understand what you're saying, and it is like you're saying, if you don't look at it in terms of like, and then just the moral sense, yeah, it is an immoral order, but it's not an actual order because only morality can create true order. It's an immoral order viewed via the false order of control. By controlling everything, you're going to make it ordered in the way that you want it to be ordered, or you're going to position everything the way you want it to be positioned so that you can get the outcome that you want to get. And I remember Pasio mentions that in his earlier work, that the psychopaths and the dark agenda, they want to control everything because they don't like unknown outcomes. So they have that fear of losing control. So they want to be in control of everything. And so they're going to order things and control. Everyone on the board is like on the chessboard, or everything in your room is, that's what everyone on the planet is to them. It's things that they can move around and place and restrict the freedom of what they can do. So everyone's a universal constructor where you can be formed into doing certain jobs, different jobs. You can be a different size cog in the machine, but you're still in the machine. So you're still in that control system. And yeah, I guess I'll leave it there for that. And Derek, yeah, the natural law expressions, that'll be in my consciousness. That's Natural Law and the Science of Morality, Part 6, with consciousness, and I'll get into that. Part 5 is this one. The Law of Freedom is Part 5. And 6 will be consciousness. Yeah, I'll get into that more there. That's why I have everything split into different sections.
Theo was talking about, I guess individuals, I guess, realizing this stuff, and Kris had talked about free will causal agents, as far as one truly reaping, what they are sowing, when it, like when that karmic consequence or, that debt gets repaid by the way of, true responsibility, true self-defense, force is going to always be that factor that's going to get individuals to change. Force, and that would be free will, or willed into her reality. So it gets back into like the whole point of the hands, self-defense and right action. Force is going to be required, regardless if it's like physical force, just the force of doing this kind of work. People just assume force is this negative thing. Like, force is how we create, force is how we will, force is energy, force is strength. So it's going to take force in order for us to correct these wrong behaviors, and that's really what's going to get people to change. Now, that force may come from an internal force and internal change of internal the willpower, or it's going to come from an external form of force by way of a boot stepping on people's neck. That's still force, that's just coercion, but sadly it's unwanted, unjust force. But that force is going to come either way. It's going to create change. And that's why I've always kind of been a proponent of the vitriolic hell approach, and use like kind of a harder, forceful, acidic, more masculine hell approach, when people show they don't want to learn, or like people have a rigid, hard-headed way of being stuck in their calcified, egoic belief system. And sometimes those people may require a little bit more force as far as to try to plant those seeds, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some of us just learn a little bit harder, and force is required. Like, just like when you are cleaning something, sometimes it may have a little bit more dirt on it. You may have to rub it, use a little bit more force. When you're grinding that knife at a certain angle, sometimes you may have to put a little bit more force and put it at the correct angle. So in order to sharpen, in order for us to hone, in order for us to plant those seeds, sometimes it may require a little bit more force, helping others.
Yeah, let the force be with you, huh? Yeah, and people got to understand the difference between force and violence and all these things, right? Yeah, people really also just got to understand, and I'd keep this in the back of my mind, in regards to like the law of attraction and all this stuff, and yeah, going back to energy and stuff, like what kind of energy are we emitting from ourselves, through our expressions of language and body language and actions, behavior, the whole nine, right? What are our intentions? And stack that up. Is it more on the positive side or the negative side, and then throughout your whole entire life, weigh that up against the Maat's feather and all that stuff, right? But yeah, I always try to keep in the back of my mind, like, hey, like, even if no one's watching, we got to understand the universe is always watching. It sees all, it feels all, and it reacts to all. It's like that mirror reflection, and it's kind of like that input output, in regards to just how reality functions, um, to a kind of like layman's terms in a sense, right? So yeah. But yeah, Kris, I like the fact that, yeah, in these formulas, you really um, consider that the variable of that free will and all these things, because yeah, that's just, it's hard to measure that or just like identify that, because it's not really static, I guess, is it now? People have the free will choice to do what they want, right? We can't really predetermine what people are going to do. We can get an idea, we can study patterns and habits and all that jazz, but yeah, it's just yeah, you're giving the people quite a lot to consider and think about, so thank you.
Well, in regards to what you said, like that, yeah, when our energy, the way we conduct ourselves, like even when no one's watching, the universe is watching. Well, you don't even have to go like in this more like woo-woo kind of territory. You can just say literally, you are always watching what you're doing. Like you cannot hide from yourself ever. So and like Brandon mentioned, it's about like also the internal, having like internal force and the internal cohesiveness, internal order, internal monarchy. Like if you watch yourself doing things that you would not appreciate seeing other people do, but you think, oh, I can do it because no one is watching. It's like you are watching yourself. It's like, hello. So that's one thing I thought about that. And yeah, like I know, Brandon, you were in the evolution, and they're always saying like, yeah, know thyself, to love thyself, to love others. Like you're not gonna love yourself so much if also what you said, Kris, like you're a selfish prick. Maybe not you said it. Anyway, someone said it recently in the chats. But yeah, like if you're a selfish prick, you're not gonna love yourself. Or if you're, I don't know, doing whatever things that are not seen highly by yourself or others, like you might lie to yourself. Like you watch yourself eating this McDonald's burger. It's like, you know, it's like, deep inside it's not good for you. It's not coming from a good place, but you think, oh, I'm just hungry. None of my friends are around me. No one knows that I'm eating this nasty burger, but I know I really want to eat it now, and you just eat it, and you're not gonna feel good about yourself, and you're not gonna help other people. This is not good karma. You're not helping generate good karma. You're not doing anything. You're just degrading yourself. So that's just one silly example, but I'm sure all of you can know ways in which you might not be proud of yourself, of something you're doing alone. And yeah, you have to really maintain that internal monarchy if you want to see external anarchy in the good sense, in the sense of like moral unity, of like everyone just accepting we all have freedom to do everything we want to do as long as it's moral. Then that's the ultimate goal. And again, it takes force because also like Brandon, you mentioned, you have to really sometimes apply that force, especially in our when we are the masculine, when we are the man. We can't be docile, right? Like the social engineers want us to be docile, want us to just be nice and all that stuff, and just go along to get along. It's like, no, you don't want to do that. That's gonna get you in the fucking machine. So
Yeah, can't be tolerating evil these days, or any time ever in existence. What about that End Evil podcast? No.
Yeah, we can't
I saw you on
tolerate
there.
evil, but you need a majority to do something about not tolerating it. Because it always comes back to that. Because, we're it could be, all right, the four of us, we're gonna meet up, and we're gonna change the world. Yeah, with our 4 actions, we're gonna make the whole world change. Just the 4 of us. No, we can't do that because the world don't work that way. We're not. We don't have infinity gauntlets to make things change according to our mental states.
Yeah. I don't have that many AR-15s. So you said you're already working on a part 5 and a part 6, or you have that in the works?
Yeah, in the works. It's been in the works for a while, like the whole natural law series. So yeah, this one, I break them down to like max 20 slides. Because if I talk fast, I can get like 20, maybe 22 slides in if I talk fast. This one I went slower. I only had 15, and I went over, or maybe no, I didn't. I don't think I was over because I started late. Yeah, so I was at like 57 minutes or something. So it turned out good, but yeah, the next one's like I guess it'll be on my criticism of like the some of the questionable aspects of karma and why. I have reasoning. I don't have proof of. I'm not saying they're false. I don't have proof that they are false. I don't have proof that they're true. But I have logical arguments for why it doesn't make sense to me. Some of the ideas people come up with, and I'll present those. Maybe not the next one, but it's part of my. I mentioned in the first presentation. It was the second slide. After I gave the definition of the law of freedom, I said, well, okay, the end, is that it? That's it? That's all you need to know is that one? Well, maybe you want to know more about it. So that's what I did. I took a lot of time to like reflect and keep thinking about it. And how does it apply here and there and different ways and different ideas? And well, was this idea true? Is it false? Can I demonstrate that it's true? No. Can I demonstrate that it's false? Well, no, not conclusively, but I have logical arguments that for why it doesn't really make sense to me, and so I can present that, and so it gives more of a. That was part of my process of, diving deep and trying to understand it as much as I could. That was part of my process, so I figured I would share it, and it might be useful and of value to some people to hear those arguments that I came up with. And yeah, just quick, where's my folder? So yeah, there's that one. So the karma part is big because I got that, and then oh yeah, that was all in part 4. Okay, so that will be part 5, and then a part 6 will be I guess I call it a negative karmic consequence in effect. I'll have to go through those. And then looking at authority. So it's like, I guess I had infographics showing like authority and what it does and how it affects people. And then, arrows and little people, circles representing people. I don't know how useful it is anymore since I explained things pretty good, but I guess it's more of an example to hammer at home for authority and like understanding how it relates to authority. So that would be another one. I guess that'd be like a 6th part. And then I have a remake of the reality affection infographic I made from like 11 years ago. The one in the shape of a heart on the white background. the red heart, which
Yeah,
had natural law
yeah,
with Maat and Isfet
yeah.
going
And you
back
had the
in. So
left
it was like,
path. Yeah, yeah, the right path.
and it goes back in, but it was based on the heart because it's
Yeah,
how reality is, how we are affecting reality. So I called it reality affection because obviously it's based on what we care about. So I found that pretty clever when I came up with it. Reality affection, because it's an affect and an emotion and care. It's an affect and around the heart, and then everything was based around the heart and how it came back in like a toroid or something. Yeah, I have a remake of that to make it more detailed, more precise, because I found with what I understand now that one had like a bit of maybe ambiguity or inaccuracy, and I broke it down in more with like a lot of the information from today and made it more specific, and it's another flowchart into 3 parts because there was too much information when I like went in more detail. So it's a 3 slider, and maybe I'll just present that one as its own thing all itself, and maybe it won't be as long, but it'll be just by itself. Well, it'll be with Maat, I think, what I have here. I don't know. I have like all this stuff is in like loose sections, but then I gotta reorganize it, and then I have I wanted to get more into, well, there'll be justice related to that because it's all about universal justice. So I could show an example. Oh no, I'm not on the right screen. Never mind. Anyways, has to do with universal justice. As I mentioned, everything operates within the law. Everything is ordered because it operates within the law. So even though there's chaos, it's part of the natural order out of chaos. And the justice that we get, as I mentioned, the collective aspect of the law of freedom of what we deserve, well, that's the universal justice being applied on a collective scale. And then there's individual justice, where will is applied to bring justice so that we have, as individuals, we have justice. And if we don't do that, then we get the universal justice of, oh, Theo left, I guess. Connection issue. And yeah, so that one, so I plan on talking, well, there's another section after that's on justice, but I'll be doing that reality affection before that. So there's like going into justice more, going into chaos and order more. You know how chaos is a teacher, aspects of chaos and things. And then, yeah, I guess that's it. So maybe that's like 8 parts, something like that.
Cool, man. Looking forward. And yeah, I think it's a great idea. And I think that just like breezed my mind the other day when I was going over your website. I was like, geez, I wonder if, Kris would, be doing like a rehash or remake with a revamping of some of those slides. And voila, here we are. That's great. And yeah, something you mentioned, and yeah, I love the fact of how the approach you're taking and all this stuff. And it's like people can kind of like get a clearer idea and visualization of like proof of natural law and stuff. And like even today I saw on Facebook in the Mark Passio Natural Law Facebook group, someone had a post of like a question rather of like, hey, like I'm struggling to understand natural law, like I don't know if it's like 100% legit, like I'm the type of person that needs some proof and all this stuff. And like there were some good responses and all that. But yeah, it's just geez, like take the time to really consider things and all this stuff. And like, hey, you can't even see your thoughts, but does that mean they don't exist? Type of thing, It's so there's so many different examples and all that stuff. But yeah, appreciate you staying at it, Kris, for sure. Good to see you back, Theo.
Yeah, I had a call, sorry.
No.
Yeah, well, thanks for appreciating the work and gaining value from it. And yeah, despite being sick, and I did work on it hard to get it finished, because I was like, oh, I hope I can get this finished and present it rather than wait a bit. And yeah, I managed to do it today, finalized it. Even added a new infographic like yesterday. And I have this idea of doing other things, like I could do in between. I mentioned doing other material that I've done, and there was like 8-hour presentation on morality doing that. But there was this idea of like a great work launch pad, I called it, where just giving people examples of how they can start doing the great work. So like I can talk about how I started, or anyone can talk about how they started. Like, what did you do to start doing something, rather than just being, a receiver of information and thinking things and maybe talking to some people around you. What made you actually get into creating content? How did you, what was your first piece of information that you put out that tried to explain things to people? Because I got like what I got are like papers like this, where I like have my charts and everything, and I have like, hundreds of these, and then I turn this into the digital format, and yeah, so that's my process of I come up with an idea, and I try to like visualize, make it into like a visual representation, and then it's a lot quicker to do it in pencil, that's for sure, because taking the time to do it on the computer, and then you like lose your idea. So do it on paper, and there's like all these things that maybe people could use as tips, or where to start. How do you start writing an article? Oh, you're too shy to do a video or audio, because that's where I started, was just in writing. And so like, well, how do you know where to start? Because I've heard that from people. So some people are like, oh, there's so much. Where do you start? Well, go to podcast number 1 from Mark Passio, and then take that one podcast and then rephrase it in your own words. Talk about the main gist of it in your own words, or take something out of it and elaborate upon it or something. I don't know. These ideas of like, as a launch pad to get people to understand how to do it. Because even after you take like how to be the true media, people could still be like, okay, I know how to make a presentation and how to use a computer, but I still don't know like where exactly do I get started. So I was thinking of that. That was my idea. Great work launchpad is like launch yourself up from there, and people could come on and share their experience, or also ideas of like homework. If people come in who are new and you give them homework, like I said, like, okay, well, take an episode of Passio's and some topic that interests you, and write an article, and you got a week, and in a week you're gonna write a 2,000 word article or something, or 1,000 word. Maybe a 2,000's asking too much there. Or do an audio, or do a short little video or something, and give them homework assignments or something. I don't know. There's maybe that would help motivate people who are looking for that. So that's something I was thinking of. If you guys might be interested in that, instead of doing a presentation or something, I could start up that idea, and I don't know. Yeah, we share with people some of these things that how we got started and how we go about it.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I know, Derek's always talking about it. Chris Jansen, like we're always talking about, like how can we get, people, interested in getting involved. Like that idea is always running through one's mind. Because you put out so much information to try to inspire people, and if you can help, show some of the tools, or like show some of like the methods that work for you or didn't work for you, then maybe someone else can gain from that. So yeah, especially like the whole idea of like how do we get started, or like what caused you to get started, because it's going to be different for each person.
Yeah, and I love writing, especially just the old school stuff. I've been writing more and more since doing more interviews with Dissolving the Divide. Hey, we've had all you guys on. Good times, right? But yeah, it's like there's something on an energetic level. I don't know, like just like writing something on a piece of paper as opposed to like typing it into a computer. But that aside, I think like either or. I think it's great just to have something written down, and that could be published on the Substacks and all that. Even Odyssey lets you post all types of media, including articles, right? And I think that's a great starting point, especially for those not ready to they don't have their voice astute enough or acclimated to do it, whatever. But over time, it's like when they're ready to voice theirs, they got all these written articles that they can go back on and just read those and have those extra videos for that. You know what I mean? So it's like doubling the content level with that. Sometimes it's think about it, things to consider.
Yeah, so I think we can end it there, and I think about that during the week, and like I'll post it in the Telegram for the OGWW. If I like decide to, I could do like a first episode of the Great Work Launchpad or whatever other name. I don't know. I didn't come up with any much better names. Again, Great Work Launchpad, Great Work Training, Great Work Tutorial. But yeah, and then we could do that and share some history and motivation, and how other people can maybe do stuff, and yeah, see how that goes. Maybe it's a different perspective, less dry and deep and philosophical, be more I guess impromptu and more relatable, I guess, to people at a personal level.
Yeah.
A little more to the heart of the matter, right? Inspiring some care to action, possibly, like that good old funnel conference that we were all a part of. Something like that. Yeah.
Just real quick, because Derek had talked about all of us being on Dissolving the Divide. Wasn't it the first time Kris was on camera?
No.
Okay. All right.
Derek was late. He contacted me first, but then he forgot about me for months.
A little bit,
Yeah,
yeah.
you remember that?
I wasn't in a good place at that time, man. You had
Derek,
Fred
James
Lippercat.
Cordner had my infographic from the Philosopher's Stone, and he had Derek on because he had no idea who I was, or the sites were involved consciousness, but he didn't look into the site. He's like, I like this graphic. Derek, come talk about it.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then I guess from that, maybe he looked into me, and then he asked me on. And then Derek saw me on there, and then he's like, oh shit, I forgot that I sent you that email to come on Dissolving the Divide. Do you still want to come on? I'm like, yeah. So he would have been first, but he forgot. And so he was second.
I appreciate your patience, brother.
No problem.
My apologies once again, my friend. Yeah, good memory, though. And good times, regardless. But yeah, that's all I have for this evening, gentlemen. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm sure you got some babies to attend to over there, and hope you feel better throughout the next couple of days with what you got.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hell, thanks for the sacrifice, man. Hell, thanks for the sacrifice.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks, Derek, Theo, Brandon. And yeah, we'll see you for next week if I do the presentation, or yeah, we could do that idea if you guys want to participate and see where that takes us. So have a good night, guys. Take care. Peace.
Likewise. Ciao.
Thanks.
All creatures, the low and the high, are one with nature. If we have the wisdom to learn, all may teach us their virtues. Between the fragile beauty of the praying mantis and the fire and passion of the winged dragons, there is only harmony.